Apparently we're live, so
Okay, here we are.
yeah. So good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you're in California. I'm here today joined by the wonderful Brian Hilliard. He is husband of Arielle Ford, who a lot of you might have heard of, who was the author of The Soulmate Secret. And we spoke to her last week on Inspired Online. But a lot of people, and certainly when I first discovered The Soulmate Secret, was curious about who is that man that was the soulmate that Arielle created. And I've since obviously had the honor of meeting him and getting to know him. We met actually, would you believe, in 2011, Brian?
It goes back a little bit, yeah.
And
Now, and you've been at our house many times too. You come and
indeed, it's
visit
been
for
such a
us.
and I know, Brian, the way that you live your life is just full of love and inspiration. And, you know, in one of Arielle's talks, how she described you before I'd ever met you is Brian is just a love bug. So if you want to be full of love, just, you know, friend him on Facebook and you'll never regret it. And, you know, I've known that to be true, just so much love and so much wisdom, and we don't often get to see you on screen. So I wanted to welcome you to this platform to say hello to the world and share your wisdom with us.
Hello, everyone. So honored to be with you. Love you, Shay. It's really a joy and a treat to be exchanging molecules with you right now. It's really precious and really special. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll ask with that first simple question that I have for all our guests on here is, if you had that wisdom that you wanted to impart with the world, what would you tell them?
Well, with the crazy times in the world going on right now, all the things we're experiencing with the virus and practicing self-distancing, I would like to part wisdom on it with everyone regarding living in uncertainty. Really, you know, it's required right now. So I can talk a lot about that. It's something I practice daily, if not moment to moment. It's something that I've been devoted, you know, to and towards living towards for, you know, 50 plus 60 years. So it's something that I really have found many disciplines to breathe in and live that kind of life, and being calm and finding contentment in that chaotic world we're experiencing right now. So I can talk about that, Shay, if you'd like.
I'd love to. I mean, so many people are living in uncertain times, right? Well, we all are, everyone. I don't think anyone knows what's happening. So how are you so cool with it? What do you do to be okay with that?
Well, I'm always, again, very conscious about my words and my deeds and my actions. It's something that I have found a discipline on a daily basis. There's my own spiritual toolkit that I've, you know, put together over many, many years. And, but bottom line, it's just affirming life. And affirming life means experiencing love. And you can deny life, and I think that's experiencing fear. And we all, you know, we all have to manage that, and we have to manage our emotions in relationship to those fear and love. So I choose love. I don't deny the challenges and the unrest that's going on. In fact, I'm a part of that. But I believe a lot in attitudinal healing, and that's self-care and self-love for yourself. It's an inside game, and I like to play that inside game. So I do devote a lot of time to that, knowing that, you know, and I've been given so many wonderful examples over the years, but what you give out, you get back tenfold. So if you share love, if you share kindness, if you appreciate beauty, it's going to be a big part of your life. I've always thought that 10% of life is all the shit that's happening to you. It's all just happening to you. But 90% of it is how you respond to it. And some people might say I might distinguish some words, but it even goes beyond reaction. Some people say 90% of it is how you react. Well, in my world, what I've found, which helps me, and I think a lot of people practice this, is I think reaction comes from your ego. And as you move through in life, you find more wisdom and you mature, you learn to manage your emotions, you end up 90% of that is response, not reaction. And response is from the soul. It's from your higher self. It's from the higher intelligence that's available to all of us. So that's what I like to tap into. And I've just developed a lot of tools to help me and assist me in that growth and aligning with that higher self that we all have.
Absolutely. Now, I know some of these concepts are going to be new to some of the people out there that are listening to this right now. So when you talk about, letting your higher self help you, or letting your inner guides help you, or anything, what would you say to someone who's just starting on that journey of tapping into their inner wisdom?
Again, I think it goes back to that affirmation of life, which is love. We all know what love is. It's not always easy to bring into our life or integrate, but like everything else, if you want muscles, you go to the gym and you practice, and you work out. In my experience, all these years, it's a practice, it's a discipline, and it's a choice. So that's, what I'm always, you know me so well, Shay, that I'm a big heart math person, and my buddy's Doc Childra, who founded it, and his science and research has come up with, and it's all on a metrics. It's all measured scientifically, but they measure your heart rate variability. It's a feedback loop, which I think life is all about, a feedback loop. But you learn how to rest in your heart. You learn how to open up that frequency. And with that access to that heart frequency and that higher intelligence, you gain more clarity in life. You respond more in kindness. And it's just a step-by-step process. Again, an inside game. And that's all, that's all the journey of all of our lives are about, is the inside game. And with this virus that we're experiencing, I think it's demanding and requiring us to spend more time in reflection. Again, going within. And it's an unfortunate situation, but on the other hand, that challenge presents the gift. And that's really, I think, what we're always trying to find, is that gift on the other side. My beautiful wife, Arielle, always says there's a pony in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And so you got to find, even within our, the challenges that we're experiencing today with the virus and all that contains, there's got to be something in there that we can learn from and grow from. And that's what those challenges are all about. So again, going back to the tools, I try to rest in my heart. It provides tranquility. It provides contentment. It gives you, again, a more expansive state for clarity. So it improves your own discernment. So your choices become better, more affirmative, versus denial or in fear or in angst or even in depression and things of that. So it's a day-to-day thing. It's a moment-to-moment thing. It's a practice. It's a discipline. And if you devote a little time to it, that's transformative for your own self, for whoever is watching out there, for their lives. And that's what it's all about.
Have you always lived this way? I mean, it's hard to imagine you being anything else, actually, through the years that I've known you, but has this always been true for you?
Yes. There's always, we all have we all have our own shadow, and I always feel that you got to put that light on your shadow, and so if you don't address your shadow, you're going to repress your shadow, and it's going to bubble up. My wife's sister that was her body of work, her shadow work, and so I strongly believe in that practice and that understanding and that dynamic. So it's been a practice of mine. And my amazing mother, she's no longer with us, but we called her the Buddha of the. She was the mother Buddha, and she was all light, all love. She was the one that gave me that example of, if you express love, you're going to get it back, tenfold. She would always walk into a room and just light up the room. So at an early age, I was, I had the greatest example of pure love, of unconditional love, and it was strong with her. It was deep, and it was, it was authentic, and it was just an honor to, be her youngest son. And she led by example every day, and so I was blessed with her as my mother.
Well, we know where it comes from then.
I think it's a big part of it. I mean, obviously, we can go on and on about past lives and our DNA and all that stuff too. It's all part of the equation, but the foundation for me was my mother, for sure. And it was a privilege and an honor. Yeah.
No, that's really beautiful, and certainly very lucky to start life that way. I know a lot of other people out there haven't been as privileged as that. Some of my work, I deal with families that are broken and perhaps children that aren't getting that sort of upbringing in their life. What would you say to someone who's in that place, who's maybe had a more difficult upbringing? How could they transcend to living life more in the way that you do?
Well, that's a really wonderful question, and it means a lot to me too. My body of work over the years has been working with the homeless, and I try to impart some wisdom, mainly just love and being in their space with them, and honor who they are always. But people with any kind of challenge, and people that are listening today, I think it starts with opening up as much as you can to giving. Once you can get out of your space of hurt, of anger or depression, things that are all real and things that you need to work through and process. But I think one of the first baby steps is to, in a moment of calm and peace, if you find that within yourself, is to find a myriad of ways to go out and help people. And once you start giving, receiving comes back, and also you slowly dissipate and dissolve some of those fears or anxieties and discontent, emotions, and it really helps. It's the first step. It's not an easy ride, and it's the next step always is to find people who can express love, or at least can have the empathy to understand where you are. And some of those, as we know, some of those people are so valuable to our own growth, are the ones that can walk in our own shoes, because we've all had a little difficulty, but the ones that have had extreme issues and things that have set them back, I think it's always important to try to find the people that are expressing their own love and can understand who you are and where you're at. And that really helps. That connection really helps. I think we tend to kind of contract and isolate ourselves when we're in those, when we're having those feelings, and we feel lost. And, my simple advice is to, when you can, reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out in many ways, to give, and also to find people that you can connect to, that will give you a feedback of love and light and care and empathy and compassion.
I've always loved that about the way you interact with people, because obviously we've been out in La Jolla and all of those kind of things, and Brian is literally one of those people. You'll say hi to anyone, you'll share love with anyone. It's just gorgeous, and not really what we see in the big city where I live necessarily. But I was wondering, out of all those stories where you have reached out and rather than walking past that person, you've, stopped to connect with them, have you had a story that you found the most fulfilling about what that's done for someone's life?
Wow. I could go on and on about that, Shay. That's been my whole life, really.
Yes, I know. So I'm just asking you for a favorite, if you have one, or a story that you can share right now.
Well, I have a lot of them over the years. I've had a lot of folks come from off the street to live with me, and that's been an amazing experience. There's been a lot of wonderful exchanges, and the gift is always, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I find the gift in that. We're all just teachers and students, and we're just, playing different roles as time goes on. So I find many of my friends that are living on the street to be some of my greatest mentors and teachers. But I've had so many experiences where they've developed a real talent for art, and they went on to become very successful.
Oh, wow.
I've had a gentleman I spent many years with who won the lotto.
Oh, wow.
And then inherited a lot of money, but he had to go through that experience, and it was, many, many trials and tribulations, but he finally overcame some of his issues and lived a fulfilling life. And then one of my closest friends actually stayed here for almost 10 years. When we were traveling, we travel all the time, and he was our house sitter. His name was Roger, and we enjoyed sports. We played sports, and so we had that connection. And Roger was just the most caring and loving person. He took care of our animals in such a great way. And even though Arielle sometimes didn't like the smell he left, because he used old, he was still wearing some old clothes sometimes, but she got used to it. She loved it. And then, we became family. So it was pretty special.
That's beautiful.
And I go on and on, Shay. You really lit the fire underneath me when you asked me things like that, because.
Well, why not? if you've got another story that you'd like to share.
No, I just, it goes back to my mother again. She was like that. She could walk into a room and talk to anyone. And everybody again has challenges, but the folks that I played a role with over the 60 years of my life, and most of us, that we would just want to be heard. We want to be loved. We want to connect with somebody that cares. We want them to show us dignity and acknowledge who we are as a person, as a brother and sister. And that's what I learned over the years. And that's what I, came to really appreciate and be grateful for.
Absolutely. We're going to change tack now a little bit.
Okay.
I know Arielle tells the story a lot about how she met you, and it's such a beautiful story. And if you, and it's available as well on her audios and stuff like that as well. Let's start with this. She tells us how she manifested you, but how did you manifest the gorgeous Arielle?
Well, I buckle up, everyone that's watching. This is kind of. She did manifest me. Everything she shares is true. It's a lot of people have even written about it. It's a magical story, and my end of it is that I began dreaming about her.
Right.
She went to Amma. I just noticed a picture on the desk. This is Amma, a saint, and lives in India. She travels the world, and she's the hugging saint. Yeah, and as you know, Arielle went to her 22 years ago now and asked her to heal her heart so she could find a soulmate. And she speaks Hindu, so all she does is hug you. But she was saying things to Arielle, And what we found out, which is absolute truth, I started dreaming of her the day she got the first hug from Mama.
Oh my God.
So it was before I even met Arielle.
Yeah.
We were actually working together. My business partner wrote a wild book about being Paul the Apostle.
Okay.
And she was in PR then. And she was PR to all the spiritual people we all read and know and integrate their wisdom. Mm. She was the PR person for all those people, so she was top notch. And my business partner was very successful financially, so he engaged with Arielle. He got a big book advance, and he claimed to be Paul the Apostle, and Arielle didn't care much for Nick, but she loved him, but she wanted to work for Simon and Schuster and wanted to work this project. Yeah. And that's how we got together. But we were on the phone all the time. Back in the old days, 22 years ago, there wasn't Skype or Zoom or that stuff. So we were on the phone. So we never saw each other. You know, we didn't see each other's face. We didn't know who we were. And Arielle negotiated a TV deal for Nick. Right. And they were going to shoot on a Friday, and Simon and Schuster called up the day before and said, Arielle, get up to fly up to Portland and manage this thing so it goes well. It's his first TV deal, so it was a big thing. So Arielle calls me. I say, I'll pick you up in front of the airport at terminal whatever, and I have a gray car and da-da-da-da-da, and I look like this.
Oh, you look gorgeous.
And thank you. But in those 2 weeks, I was dreaming of her every day.
Wow.
And I don't know if your audience knows a lot about Tantra, but that was something I had practiced for years and years, and breath work and all that is something that's part of my own toolkit, spiritual toolkit. So every day she got more clear. It was just like a woman is coming into my life. The first day she hugged Amma, that was my first dream. And then each day it progressed. And my dream became more clear and more clear and more profound and more animated in terms of real people, two of us. And we were getting closer and closer. And the night before I picked her up at the airport, we were in a thing called Yab Yam, which is two people merged. And our hearts, our souls are merging, and our hearts are completely connected. That's the yoga practice, right. And it's called Yab Yam. And you see it in statues and stuff all the time. And that's the position we were in. And I was looking right into Arielle, and I knew exactly who she was. So it shocked the you-know-what out of me when I picked her up at the airport the next day.
Wow.
And that was the start of our magical journey and adventure.
Mm.
But it was real. There was a knowing already that we were meant for each other. All the things you read about, all the things Arielle shares in her writings, all the books that she writes, happened for us. It was our experience. And fortunately, and a blessing for us, it's gotten better and better every day.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And that was 22 years ago. So all the fireworks, all the magic, I asked her to marry her 3 weeks later, but we're very practical people, as you know us very well. So we waited a year, but I gave her a fake ring in a restaurant down here in San Diego in the gas district. And then we, our parents would never approve of us getting married in 3 weeks. So they wrote some letters to us and said, slow down, wait a while. So we waited a year, and then Kenny Loggins married us. Amazing. And from in a real wedding, and he sang. Arielle's very practical, so she got a minister and the wedding singer all in one.
Absolutely, why not, right?
So it worked, and it was great. And we had all of our loved ones with us. And then right before that, we got married by Amma. She married us, and she doesn't marry many people, but she married us in a Hindu ceremony. It was in front of like 3,000 people.
Wow.
And it was a really beautiful ritual, sacred ceremony, and we've been tied up, heart to heart ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so connected.
Yeah.
There's a few questions about that story,
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, one was this just struck me as you were talking. But when you guys were speaking on the phone and before you even saw each other, did you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how how much more can you ask for when you're dreaming about the person you're going to meet and fall in love with, and that all unfolded that way.
Yeah.
And so it was a clear, clear indication that we were meant to be together, and we were supposed to spend the rest of our lives together. And then as when we collided and all the fireworks went off, it even got more and more wild. We had experiences together, understandings and deep knowing of us even being together in past lifetimes. And, we're not woo woo. We're pretty, keep one foot on the ground and reach for the stars always. We're not, our kite's not flying way out there, but we live and breathe all this stuff, and it's been a big experience for all of us in our lives, and so all this just unfolded that way. Really sacred, really spiritual, very profound kind of things. And it's been an incredible joy and honor, and just a treat to ride the magic carpet ride with my soulmate.
Absolutely. The other thing that I was going to comment on, because I think it's one of the things that she talks about. Well, I know it's one of the things that she talks about is even before you've met your soulmate, speak to them, in the kind of ether, in the energetic. And it's really interesting speaking to you from the other side, because if you were dreaming about her, I'm guessing that was heard. You don't know how that other person's reacting, but it's maybe giving some reassurance to people out there that it works.
That's a great insight, Shay. I know there's other forms of love and different relationships, but for us, I think we're a good example of that. I think you're right. There is a plane, there's a field, and we met each other. We feel we met each other way before that, before we met in the physical world. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I was going to ask at this point, are there, we're coming close to our time. I know it's like just flown by. I know we've been about half an hour. But are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience about love or about the wisdom that you'd like to share with the world?
Well, it's very basic, and I'm sure a lot of people listening and your audience knows this and lives this and can appreciate it and be grateful for all this. But there are two things right now that I think we have to pay attention to during this challenging time of ours, and sometimes being in isolation, obviously, which is a whole different ballgame for a lot of people. But our health is really important to us.
Absolutely.
And I think moving towards optimum health is finding the inner peace and calm within yourself. And that only represents more clearly it's an inside game. So I think we always have to pay attention to that and learn to appreciate that. And then, beyond that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Shay, and that's transformation or healing. And, healing basically, it can be very intellectual, and we can talk about the nuances of healing, but healing is just letting go of fear. Yeah. And we're dealing, and that's part of this uncertainty that we're living in right now, and this chaos that's been created by this virus and other things. We have to somehow, learn to expand into life and love and joy and kindness. And the more we can do that, again, the fears and anxieties begin to dissipate. So and then part of the bigger game is health and healing. So it's kind of an entire equation. And I just wanted to share that with you, how important that is for all of us. And as we move through that and move into love and positive life affirmations, our health and healing is taken care of. It can be a slow process. It can be an accelerated process. You can find yourself in a crisis and everything just implodes and explodes. And we all have a different journey, but it's just being conscious of that, being aware and putting your attention on that. And slowly but surely, life blossoms for you in some way. So that's what I put a little add on to everything that we talked about.
Wonderful. Well, now I'm curious to ask, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Well,
beyond
that's a whole different show, because I've been through a challenge myself for 10 years. My trip to India, and I was, I had a life challenge on a daily basis for 10 years. So that shattered everything about my life and my identity. So it was a real growth time these last 10 years. So I'm just kind of, the window's opening up from that 10-year cycle or period in my life. So everything I'm sharing today and everything that we talk about, I was practicing and living in spades, because it was a daily, am I going to live? Am I going to stay on this planet? So that's a whole different, ball game. And so I went through that, and now I'm coming through that period. So I don't really know what's in store for me. I hope it's just complete magic and spontaneous right thoughts, spontaneous right action, everything that, I hope is a foundation in my life. More friends to meet, more loved ones to be with, like you. Introducing myself to the people that are watching this show, honoring, our relationship. Yeah. Continuing to live outside of the box, again, expand into life, be life affirmative. Love is the answer, huh? We know it.
We know it. And if this lovely audience would love to connect with you, which I'm sure a lot of them will, how can they do that?
Well, I'm off the grid most of the time. I would have never been on Facebook. I didn't even know how to, put this Zoom thing together. So I'm not into the tech world. Although I love to be in the tech world, but I'm not practicing. I was only on Facebook because of my beautiful, super duper sister-in-law, Debbie Ford. Yeah. And she wanted me to be on so I could, talk to all her 2,000, all the teachers that she has in her community, which are up to 2,000 people. The first time I pressed friends on Facebook, I had a 1,500 friend request.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote to every one of them, and we're still best of friends, and they're on my Facebook thing. So you can connect with me on Facebook, because that's what I do. I don't even have a smartphone. So I don't, that's why I'm behind the scenes.
Okay.
But Facebook is the easiest way, and then we can go from there. But I will always, me, I try to have these wonderful exchanges with everybody on Facebook. It's a big part of my life. Debbie knew what I was supposed to do, and it's been a blessing in my life to have. That's how one of the ways we met, Shay. So
yeah,
it's pretty darn cool.
Very cool. Thank you so much for your time today and for speaking to our audience. They are blessed to have you, even if you want to be the man behind the scenes. Thank you for coming out of behind the scenes just for this afternoon.
Yeah, I came out just for you.
Yeah, everyone whose lives that you touch is very, very blessed. I know that.
No, thank you. Well, I'm again blessed and honored to be on the show, and goodbye to everyone out there in the audience. I'm always open. I'm an open book, open heart. You can reach me through Facebook anytime.
Take care.
Okay, love you, Shay. Thank you.